Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of my channel. I'm Kishal. I hope you all are doing well. So I hope from the thumbnail of this video you get to know about the topic of today's video. So this is a podcast which I have conducted with one of the PhD students from USA, and his name is Shantanu Ghosh. So this is a podcast series that I'll be starting from today, and this is the first video or first episode of this podcast series. And the name of this series is Research Stories, and the idea is that I'll be trying to bring people who are doing research on some areas of engineering and science branch, and there will be people from industry and academia at the same time, and I'll try to know their stories of doing research. So there can be students from different IITs and ISC who are doing masters or MTech research or PhD, or there can be students from US universities also, and there can be professors. I'll try to bring them also in this podcast series, or maybe someone who is doing research in industry also. I'll try to bring them as much as possible and try to learn or try to understand that what is their part of the stories that when they were doing research. So I hope this will be helpful for all the students who are aspiring to do research in future, and they will get some sort of insight about the research from this podcast. So that is the idea of this new podcast series that I'll be starting. So I need your support. So that's why please like the video and share this video to many other people. And please hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed my channel yet, and hit the bell icon so that whenever I will upload this kind of videos, you will get instant notification. Without any delay, let's get started into this new podcast.
So today we have with us Shantanu. So he is currently a PhD student in Boston University. Previously, he has done his BTech from IIM Kolkata, and then he has done his MS from University of Florida. Thank you, Shantanu, for coming to my channel and participating in this podcast. So first of all, I'll be asking you a question that as I have seen your profile that you are after your BTech you are working in some companies. So what motivates you to go for MS and to do pursue higher studies?
So thank you, Kishalai, for inviting me and running this wonderful YouTube channel. So the first thing, what actually motivated me was that so as you mentioned, I initially started my industry career in Cognizant Technology Solutions, which is a IT company. So if you work in these companies, you're gonna get bored after like two and a half or 3 years. So I also kind of got bored, and also kind of got also frustrated with the day-to-day work, because the work that I was doing, though I was in a development project, but
Right.
still that development is kind of a black box. So I was basically
Okay.
using some sort of APIs and frameworks without
Right.
knowing what's actually going on under the hood. So that's when I decided to move ahead with my career, and I wanted to do something extra, quite honestly. And as I'm from IEM and WUD, so I didn't study that well during my undergrad years. I was mostly
Right.
studying from at that time there was a book called Matrix, which is basically a question answer book. So I was mostly using that book and WUD organizer in order to
Right.
pass the
Right.
exam. So my confidence was very low. Also, the fact that I was from Bengali medium, so I did not want to go into those exams where English is a very important component,
Okay.
and that's why I decided to skip CAT and GRE, and I
Okay.
decided to go for GATE. So that's my
Okay.
motivation actually. So I didn't
Okay.
want to go to the US initially. I wanted to be in India. I wanted to study GATE. I wanted to write GATE, and also at that time I switched from Cognizant to Lexmark. So in
Let's mark. Okay.
Lexmark, the managers were not that pushy. I mean, they were like they were a bit chilled. The work environment actually was very chilled, and I got a lot of free time.
Okay.
So that's when I decided to use those free time in order to prepare for GATE. Now,
Okay.
but I was like, but the competition of GATE actually went on to a different level from 2012 to 2018, and I was preparing for GATE
Okay.
2018. And
2018. Okay.
yeah, I was preparing. I mean, it's the same year when you cracked. Yeah,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, my rank wasn't that good. I mean, it was probably, I think it was around 2000 rank that I got. And but what happened during that 1 year time frame when I was preparing for GATE was that I really found my love and my interest in some of the parts of computer science. So
Okay.
it's like algorithms, data structures, then computer networks, operating system, database management system. These are some of the subjects which I really liked during that entire year. But also at the same time, I also didn't like, that decidability, undecidability part of automata, then computer
Automata.
organization and architecture, digital logic. I didn't like those things. And, and also I didn't like the discrete method also, like those sets and, their equivalent sets, lattice, all these kind of concepts, group. So,
Right.
but in order to crack gate, you have to be good in all these things, right?
Right. Right.
So when I saw that my rank wasn't that good in GATE, and I won't be able to pursue my masters from IITs and ISC. That's when I decided I wanted to pursue my masters, but of course in India it's very difficult. So that is actually the motivation when I decided to go to the US to do my masters, because in the US you can get your admission. I mean, that is not very challenging. Like,
Okay.
GRE, TOEFL, they are not that challenging as GATE.
Right.
That is
Right.
like the first motivation. And also, I
So,
want to add on, the second motivation is, at that time, this machine learning, artificial intelligence,
right.
these words are buzzing. So I also wanted to study those things. And some of the seniors, they were telling me that, if you want to study those things, it's better that if to pursue them in the US, because, US is actually the forefront of any sort of like technical innovation. So these are actually the two reasons.
Okay,
That's
so
why.
when you decide that you will be going for this MS, then how was your preparation for MS, and how was the admission procedure in University of Florida? So if you just share the whole
Oh
experience.
yeah, sure. So, so for, if you want to do your master's so I wanted to do my master's in 2019, fall 2019. So I had to start my preparation, preparing the documents and stuff like that 1 year before that. So it's from
Right,
2018. So at that time, I know that now GRE requirements are mostly waived off from different universities. But at that time,
right.
GRE and TOEFL was the first thing that you need to crack. So I prepared for, I think, 3 months for GRE and 1 month for TOEFL. And I gave my GRE on August 2018, and I gave my TOEFL on September 2018. And then after that, it took me around 2.5 months to procure the letter of recommendation and the statement of purpose. And also one important thing is that my GRE and TOEFL scores were not that good. I got only
Okay,
310 in GRE,
okay.
which is like below par, below average score, and it's because my English is not that good, and GRE English was at a different level.
Yeah, I
But
got it. Yeah.
yes, but so yeah, so I think I got around like three letter of recommendations, two from my professors, one from my manager on the client side, who was actually staying in the
Okay,
US. So that recommendation really helped me. Then I crafted my statement of purpose, and I submitted all of my application packet for UF around December. And then around April 2018, so I submitted my application packet on December 2018. Then on April 2019, I got the email indicating that I got the admission. Then on June, I got my visa. And on August 8, 2019, I flew to the US.
okay. So there are two things I want to know here. First of all, I mean, how did you? I mean, whenever you are preparing a statement of purpose, so from where you got the reference, or how did you write a statement of purpose? Because this is a common question among all the students, that how to write a statement of purpose.
Basically, so the way I crafted my SOP wasn't very interesting for when I was preparing it for my masters. I mostly wrote about myself and some of the interesting projects. So as I just mentioned, I mean, during my time in nowadays, student, they do internships under different
Right,
professors and stuff like that. But back in 2008, 2009, we are not like in
right.
that group, right? So,
That was completely different world that time. I
that
mean,
was a completely different world before Geo came in.
yes, right, right,
Yes.
yeah.
So I mostly discussed about my some of the interesting projects that I did for the industry, which can be beneficial, which actually kind of motivated me to pursue my master. So the first thing is, of
Okay.
course, the one that I just mentioned. Like, I mostly handle the frameworks and the APIs, but I wanted to go deep. And also,
Okay.
when I was working for Lexmark, at that time they were starting an initiative of creating an AI group within Lexmark itself.
Okay.
Where, and Lexmark is a printer manufacturing company, so
Yeah.
they wanted to use machine learning to reduce the usage of cartridge. Okay,
Okay.
so these two things I kind of crafted in such way that I wanted to pursue my master's focusing on machine learning, so that I can, go deeper on the theoretical side to understand, things which are actually beyond scikit-learn. You know,
Okay.
so that is how I kind of crafted that. And also so these are like 2 or 3 paragraphs about myself, my initial journey during my undergrad years, then 2 paragraphs, one for
Mm.
Cognizant, one for Lexmark. And then one paragraph was about UF, why I wanted to do my master's from UF. I mean, so there, from there, I could take courses across any department. That is one of the best things about UF computer science department.
Okay.
And also, I mentioned 2 or 3 professors' names. I wanted to take their courses, and I wanted to do a
Okay.
research assistantship under them. But these are, I would say, uh, I mean, they are not that helpful for masters. They are very helpful for
Okay.
PhD, which we'll
Okay.
not discuss. That's it. And also, I did some leadership role when I was working for Cognizant. So I was in a NGO.
Okay.
I was volunteering in an NGO. So yeah. So I mentioned
That
all
also.
the experiences
Okay. And how many colleges did you apply for MS?
for masters. So I
Yeah.
applied to, I think, 6 universities, and I
Okay.
got
Okay.
admit from all of them except Arizona State University.
Okay. 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 So then, your master's is done. Then, after master's, so I mean, when did you decide and why did you decide to go for PhD? When did you
Yeah.
realize that you should go for PhD?
Yeah. So the thing is that, so the first thing that I wanted to do when I was actually leaving from India was that I wanted to explore research. I always heard this term called research, 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 but what is actually research? I didn't have any idea.
Okay.
So I wanted to do that. I wanted to explore that, and America is a really great place to do research. Okay. So from day one, I was actually running door to door for for uh, for doing some sort of like a research project under the supervision of professors. But most of them, they rejected me because I didn't have any understanding of ML and AI and stuff like that. But there was one professor under whom I actually took my first machine learning course. She actually kind of guided me to, she actually kind of wrote down all the important mathematical concepts where I should work. So
Okay.
so yeah, so the Gilbert-Strang's linear algebra
Right.
course, and also there is also another course on probability from MIT itself.
MIT. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually did those courses, online courses, along with my graduate courses. Okay,
Okay.
so it was very tough first 2 semesters. Okay, so it's like 3 main courses. Then I was doing those 2 courses, and I was like working really hard. I mean, so I was like doing. I went. So I was like watching every video, so one video every day. And then I went to the MIT OpenCourseWare website. I downloaded the assignments. I tried to
Oh.
solve them on my own. Then I downloaded the question papers. I tried to solve them on my own, pretending that I am a MIT student. So it was really, really hard. The first initial, I would say, fall 2019, and also a part of spring 2020, the first 2 semesters. Then I again approached to that particular professor, but she didn't have any project for me. So she referred me to another professor. And in the US, you can do something called independent study. So
Okay.
where in the during the whole semester, you work under the supervision of a particular professor on a research project.
Okay.
So that professor actually gave me a research project about texture classification.
Okay.
So he wanted to use multitask learning to do this texture classification, and that project was a complete mess. Okay, I kind of screwed it up, everything. Okay, because I didn't have any idea. I mean, come on, I didn't have any idea how to run experiments and stuff like that. And also at that time, I was learning the deep learning models like convolutional
Yeah.
neural networks, and I was not at all. And even when I went to the US, I saw some of my peers, I mean, some of my classmates, they were very younger to me, and they are like they knew everything. I mean, they finished the Andrew ng deep learning courses, so it's a different era actually. So yeah, so then so that project was a complete mess. The professor also wasn't that happy with me, but somehow he told me that, you one thing you are really good at, you you have a lot of perseverance. So what I
Mm.
can do is that I can send you to another guy. So then he sent me to my potential master's advisor, who actually became my
Mm.
master's advisor, Professor Prosperi. So I went to him and I discussed all these different things. Then initially he was very skeptical because I didn't have any good, solid research experience.
Mm.
But then he gave me a small project where I need to implement a research paper.
Okay.
So that is called deep propensity network. It was ICML paper, and he actually wanted to develop that model. He wanted to use that model for his research, but the code wasn't available. So
Oh.
yeah, so and also he was the first guy who actually introduced me something called causal inference. And
Right.
I was doing a lot of deep learning, but they are mostly supervised. So this particular concept of counterfactual,
Mm.
it seemed very interesting to me. So I implemented that paper successfully this time, and then he actually was very happy. He gave me funding. He offered me a good stipend, and then he actually gave me a research problem that so the initial problem was based on something called propensity score matching. He gave me a problem and he told me that, you need to solve this problem. So go and find the relevant research papers, read it by yourself, try to understand what it is, and let's see whether you can do that or not. So that led to a couple of papers, and that kind of also instigated some sort of like my liking to do research, and most importantly, go deep into research. So that's how I got interested. Then he actually told me that, you should do your PhD. And I said, okay, that's fine. I mean, and also by that time, there are like two professors from the computer science group whom I emailed, whom I went many times in their office, but they initially rejected. They are like collaborators with him. They are collaborating with him. So they actually kind of told me that, yeah, you can do your PhD under me. But then again, Professor Prosperi told me that, you should go to better places,
Right.
because UF is a fantastic place. I mean, it's a life changing experience for me during those 2 years. UF is a fantastic place. Even I'm still wearing the UF T-shirt. So yeah, it's so close to my heart. But the machine learning community in UF was still growing. Okay,
Okay.
they were hiring a lot of new professors, and the old professors, they were like switching their field to machine learning either, or they were trying to use machine learning in their particular problem.
Okay.
So that's when, Professor Prosperi, my advisor, told me that you should go to some really good places. You should apply outside.
Mm.
You should see the world. So that's when I decided to apply to other universities, and eventually I got into University of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so these are the two things I found from the discussion. That in India, I mean, you won't get this much of reference after screwing up under a professor. I mean, if you screw up under a professor, you are gone. So he
Yeah,
or she won't refer you to other, and then he or she will
yeah,
refer you. So that won't happen.
yeah.
Second thing, the last part you said that your guide actually told me that you should go for a better place. That's you will hardly find in India because mostly here professors want that if you are a good student, you work under me
No, the
only.
same thing also happens also in the US as well.
Okay.
I mean, there are like, you will be able to find two different types of professors. One is
Okay.
like my master's advisor. They will gonna tell you, okay, you should go to better
Okay.
places, and also they will gonna try to, they will try to block you. They'll try
Exactly.
to, yeah. So there are like two things, but I said that I was lucky. I kind of
Okay.
lucky, and
Okay.
yeah, he was a great man. I mean, he is probably one of the nicest people that I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so now let's talk about this PhD admission process and all. How was your experience? I mean, what are the things typically, US professor used to look for when they take a student under him or her for a PhD student? So, what are the
Yes.
requirements that a student has to fulfill if he or she wants to get into a US university for PhD?
So PhD basically a research degree, right? So I mean, of course, you can do a lot of things during your PhD. You can take courses, you can do TA, all this type of things. But the most important thing that you are actually expected to do is research. So the professors will gonna look for the relevant research experience. That is the first thing. So the most important component is your letter of recommendations in PhD. That is not the case in masters. That is the case for your PhD. So what you should do is that you should have at least two letter of recommendations from professors under whom you did solid research. At least
Right.
one, either from a professor under whom you did some amazing courses, you did amazing in his or her courses. I think that'll be good. But two research LORs are actually needed.
Hmm.
You're gonna say that okay, this guy can do research. That's it. This is the first thing, letters. The second thing is your statement of purpose or your personal statement. So, and now it is different from masters. So your statement of purpose should not be an extension of your resume. In most of the
Okay.
times, what we generally write in our statement of purpose that I am Shantanu, I did my bachelor's under this, I did this research project, and then I wanted to go this particular university to work under this professors, and the admission committee they had to scan the statement of purpose looking for what are your potential advisors or what is your area of interest, so it is. So if you craft your SOP like this, there is a high chance that the admission committee will gonna ignore it. Okay. So this is also another thing that my master's advisor told me. So your statement of purpose, and this is also my PhD advisor also told me. So so I believe that this is how probably what the system works actually. So your statement of purpose is actually should be an answer to a particular question. And the question is how, as a PhD student, you're gonna add value to your potential advisor or to your potential
Okay.
advisor's group or his research agenda. So that is the first thing. And you have to craft your SOP to answer this question. So in the very first paragraph, what you should write about like your name, and upfront you should mention about the professors and your research interest. And in one or two lines, you should mention that how, as a PhD student, you can add value. For example,
Hmm.
you have already worked in, say, computer vision or multimodal computer vision, or maybe explainable AI, and the professor is also doing explainable AI, so you can be a very good fit. It's like the abstract of a paper, it's like a
Right.
teaser of a movie. So that is the first paragraph. And then probably two or three paragraphs will be about your previous research project, and how those research project is actually helpful for the particular professor. I mean, the skills that you acquired from those projects, how that those skills will be helpful to pursue research under the supervision of that particular professor. So, for example,
Right.
say you are working in NLP, and now you want to work in computer vision. So there is no link, right? But
Right.
but it may happen that particular professor is working in multimodal AI. Okay,
Right.
he's creating multimodal models. So there your NLP skills will be very, very beneficial.
Right.
Second thing is that even though you are doing NLP, you're doing a lot of transformers, right? Because all
Right.
the models, they are transformers. Now in vision, we are also working we are also using vision transformers. You
Transformers.
know the patching, and you know the encoding, embedding, and all this kind of stuff. And most importantly, if you published in some good conferences and journals, you know how to conduct your experiments, how to store your results, how to do the documentation. So you should do this connecting the dots. You should connect the
Right.
dots to in every paragraph. The last two sentences should be something like this: that I acquired this skill, and this is helpful that particular professor, this particular research project. And then
Right.
if you have, like, if you did some sort of like a leadership role, or if you have an
Mhm.
undergrad TA experience, you can mention about those things. That
Mention
will be
that.
helpful for the university. So this is another very important thing. So the first is letters, second is SOP, third thing is your publication.
Okay.
Now a lot of people will say that first thing is publication. Okay. Now
Okay.
now the thing is that, I mean, good quality, you should focus on quality over quantity. Okay.
Okay.
If you want to publish in a good quality conferences in AI,
Hmm.
today's world, you know how hard it is, right? It's
Right. Very
gonna
right.
take time. It'll gonna take time. If you manage to get a publication during your undergrad or your master's years in some quality journals like medical image analysis or JAMIA, or some good conferences like ICML, ICLR, NeurIPS, I mean, you're through automatically. Of course, you will be highly weighted. Okay, but so if you manage to do that, that will be really, really good. And then comes your, of course, I mean, your research experience. If you manage to get any research internships or research assistantships from under the supervision of some professors, those things are fine. The last thing is, of course, your GPA and your TOEFL score.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then after you join your PhD, I mean, how did you decide which professor to choose, and I mean,
Okay.
how the whole process is there? I mean, before joining is decided, or after joining you have to choose it?
There are, again, there are like two types. Okay. One, so I applied to, I think, four universities, and I got, I think, three of them, got into three of them, got my admits. So for Pitt, I wrote Kehan's name, who is my current advisor, and he actually scanned my application packet, and then he decided to have an interview with me. And
Okay.
then he actually took an interview with me, and then he decided to take me in his group. So
Okay.
that's the first thing. Then for, I think it is for either for Rutgers or for Michigan State, I forgot. They didn't conduct any sort of interviews and stuff like that. They straight away gave me an admit. And what they told me is that for the first year, I would have to do a TA, and also I had to take independent studies under
Okay.
probably one or two professors. And then at the end of, I think, the second semester or the third semester, I had to finalize my advisor's name. So
Okay.
they actually gave me that flexibility. Okay, but
Okay.
I did not go in to that university. I went to Pitt, and from day one, actually, it's Kehan was my advisor.
Okay.
So I, from very first day, I was actually working with him. So yeah, that's how it's
Okay. So
decided.
for you, I think maybe then the research topic is also kind of decided whenever you are joining under this professor's
Yeah,
lab, or
it's kind of decided. So there was a senior PhD student, Sumeda. So
Mhm.
she was working on explainable AI, and I had this background of causal inference. So that's why
Okay.
Kehan actually kind of took me.
Mm.
And so he told me that, this is the open project that is already there, and I
Mm.
want you to work in this field. And I said, okay, it seems interesting. And though again here also my first project, and I kind of screwed everything up. Okay, it's like one of my bad habits. But again,
I
so
mean, it's good for you. I mean, if you score the first one, it
yeah,
finally you'll
yeah,
be doing
yeah.
something good.
Yes, yes. So I kind of screwed it up. But then the way we kind of formulated the problem, which actually translated my subsequent papers, um, I liked it. Quite honestly, I
Okay.
liked it. So you can say that again. Here also, I'm kind of lucky that what I liked it and what my professor wants me to do, it kind of converged to a particular point, and yeah, from there on we are continuing.
Okay, so whenever you are formulating these problem statements, that I also want to know that how it happens. I mean, it's like some senior people will guide you, or there is an active participation of your guide, or you have to do a lot of work from your end. So how is the process there?
Again, this is actually kind of depends from professors to professor. Uh, a lot of professors, they will gonna so in a lot of labs. I know there are like many labs in Pitt and in also in Boston University, but there is a hierarchy. So in that hierarchy, I mean, a senior PhD student or a postdoc initially guides a junior student, junior PhD student. But for me, I mean, I kind of got lucky. There is a positive thing also and a negative thing in this, because my professor, he actually wants to control the first year PhD students. Control, I mean,
Okay.
he wants to guide by himself. Okay,
Okay.
because initially the most of the PhD students, they are very raw, right? And I mean, so I quite honestly, I didn't know how to read papers. I didn't know. I mean, I was reading papers in UF as well, but the way you should look for a proper kind of solution from a paper, the way you should extract the inference from a paper is different. I
Okay.
hope you're understanding. So
Right. Right.
yes, so those things I actually learned from him in my initial years.
Mm.
So my first 6 months was actually reading papers with him to
Okay.
understand that how to read papers. That so then the problem. Okay, so your question was actually about the problem. So a part of the problem was solved by Sumedha. Okay, who
Okay.
was our senior PhD student and who was graduating at that time. But what Kehan wanted to do, or my advisor wanted to do, is that he wanted to extend that problem uh, to an explanation side. Okay, so
Mm.
this counterfactual explanation and concept-based
Right. Right.
explanation, right? So he wanted to go from counterfactual to more like concept-based explanation. So
Okay.
then he actually wrote a grant, probably for a company, and there I actually got to know that what he wanted me to do. And then we discussed, we nurtured the solution. Initially, he really helped me to form the solution mathematically. And yeah, so yeah, that is how it is. I mean,
Okay.
it was actually him. He actually kind of guided me. So my first paper, which actually is the ICML paper. So in that paper, we developed the method. We both worked to develop the method. I mean, not the coding part, the mathematics, the loss function,
Mathematical part.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yes. So that is like our ICML paper, and then we actually kind of applied that method to a real life medical imaging problem, which is our then our Mikai paper. So the
Mikai paper.
problem now for the Mikai paper, the method was actually developed completely by me,
Okay.
but the way the application that was gonna work, that was actually conveyed by my advisor.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you just say, as you said that you got your paper accepted in ICML and Mikai. So
Yeah.
if you just share the experience, I mean, the overall process. I mean, from experiments, then submitting the paper, then how was the review and all?
So which one? ICML?
Yeah, ICML.
You have also your papers in AAAI and UAI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the experience is actually pretty same. So
Okay.
so I was not targeting for ICML on the first place. I was targeting for
Okay.
ICLR 2023, and my paper actually got rejected from ICLR. Now,
Okay.
so but this acceptance rejection, these things happen in conferences, but
It's a part of life.
it's a part of life. Yes, it's a part of the game. But my advisor wasn't that happy with me, what I did in ICLR, because he wasn't happy with me on my writing. So again, like I mentioned this, that I'm from Bengali medium. My English wasn't that good. So, and my writing was pathetic. Okay, pathetic. So that is the first thing that he said to me, that it is absolutely pathetic. So, and he's very direct. Okay, so then he told me to take some English courses, like writing
Okay.
courses, professional writing courses, and I took that from Pitt. Okay, and there was also something called Pitt Writing Center, where you go to that center, and there are people, you can discuss your problem, and they will gonna try to guide you about your writing. So what I did is that in that same semester I took a course, and in the US, if you take a course, you have to do a project, and you have to write
Okay.
a project report. So I wrote the project report with the help of those guys from the center,
Okay.
so that I got the feedback that what my advisor actually wants me to do. So that's how I
Okay.
actually took care of my writing. The second thing that what I did extra was that, so initially during the ICLR, wanted to make sure that our model should work on a medical imaging data set, which was not working. So that is when I decided to debug deeply. Okay, so I kind of debugged, and I kind of got the particular hyperparameter setting, which
Right.
actually helped me to work for that for a medical imaging data set, which is Mimic CXR. And the third thing what I did is that I kind of read almost like every papers on concept-based explanations to
Okay.
see that how they are doing their experiments. I mean, it's not like you have a big table where you are gonna say that okay, you beat the benchmark for 2% and your paper will get accepted. No,
No, that
you
one.
have to develop your insights that why your model is actually working. Are
Right.
there any specific metric which is gonna substantiate this fact that okay, this is why your model is working? So there are good papers in concept-based explanation, that particular genre, and I kind of got those matrices from those papers, and I also use those matrices to convey to the reviewer that okay, my model is working, and you can see that these are the quantified results. That is also
Okay.
very important. So yeah, so I kind of changed my ICLR paper to my ICML paper, and yeah, it got
It got
accepted. So
accepted.
yeah, and
I mean,
I'm a
it's a
happy
huge
person.
achievement. I mean, having ICML paper is a huge achievement. I mean, it's my dream now.
No, it's
Hopefully,
fine.
I'll be
I mean,
having it.
yeah. No, it's. I mean, and also here I would like to thank my advisor's guidance. I mean, the way he pushed me. So I actually again so after I got my reject from ICML, I told him
ICLR.
I shouldn't go for. So he is sorry, ICLR. So he told me that you should go for ICML now because that is the next. So I
Next.
told him that no, I shouldn't go for ICML. I think I should go for this particular conference. I don't want to name that particular conference, but I told him that I want to go for this particular conference. I think the the criteria for acceptance is a bit lower than ICML, and I think I should target. So he was actually the one, and at that time I was at Pitt, and he was at Boston. So
Hmm.
he told me come to Boston for a day. So he
Hmm.
told me. So I went to his office, and he told me that one very nice thing that you are you are short of confidence because your paper actually got rejected from
Hmm.
ICLR, and now you don't want to submit ICML, and you want to submit in this particular conference. But think like this: if your paper gets accepted in ICML,
Right.
how you gonna think? So I said, okay, let's do it. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good. Great.
yeah.
Okay, so as you are now currently a Boston student, PhD student, but you have started PhD in Pittsburgh. So how this transfer happened and what is the process and everything?
Actually, my advisor moved from University of Pittsburgh to Boston University. So, and he actually kind of told us all the people in his group. So he kind of gave us two options. One was to either stay at Pitt, and then he had to guide us remotely. Yes, he had to advise us remotely, or we can follow him. So it was so I was in a particular dilemma whether to follow him or not because Boston is very expensive. Um,
Okay.
but one thing I didn't what I didn't want to do is that I wanted to work with him, in office. Okay,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
person. I didn't want to work with him in Zoom because there are various problems. If you
Right.
do
Right.
these meetings, because you need a board, you need to
Hmm.
create your ideas, loss function, and stuff like that. So then I told him, okay, I'm gonna move with you. But I mean, yeah. So then the process is actually fairly simple. If your advisor is moving and he's also taking you with him. But basically, I had to go through again all the PhD process. I had to write a statement of purpose. I had to procure 3 letter of recommendations. But this time, I mean, it's quite evident that I'll be again, easily joining to that particular university. One thing I mentioned here, why I actually told you to have this question is that when you are moving with your advisor, one thing people or students they should know from their advisor is that what are the criteria for the new university
Right.
to graduate. Now, for me, when I was moving, I was under the impression that all my courses will get transferred. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I didn't have to take any courses in BU. And it actually got. I mean, I had all the courses transfer also. But for one of our lab mates, he actually got a B minus in one of the courses, and that course didn't get transferred. So
Okay.
now he had to, take that course again, and that will gonna,
Okay.
slow down your research and your progress, right? Also, what I didn't know at that time is that in Pitt, we didn't have any TA requirement. I didn't have to do
Okay.
a teaching assistantship. But in Boston, they have a TA requirement for 2 semesters, which I have to do. So
Uh,
these are the small nuances that I think the student should ask from his
Before.
advisor very, very clearly. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So these are the things. Okay. Okay, so now I'll ask you because you have been part of these four universities like University of Florida, Pittsburgh, and Boston. And again, I think you have done something in CMU also.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you just share what are your experience in CMU and then just have a idea about comparing these four universities.
Okay. So CMU, okay, yeah. So one of the beautiful things about like doing your PhD in University of Pittsburgh is that you can take courses from Carnegie Mellon.
Okay.
Okay. So I took two courses. So most of my courses actually got transferred from my master's to my PhD, and I had
Okay.
to take two courses in order to satisfy my course requirements in Pitt. So there I took those two courses from Carnegie Mellon itself. And
Okay.
so the courses in Carnegie Mellon, I mean, I was watching a lot of Carnegie Mellon videos when I was a student at UF, and the courses are really, really, I would say, grueling. I mean,
Okay.
they take a lot of your time. I mean, you have to invest a lot of your time and energy if if you want to do really, really good in those courses. So I took
Okay.
a course, something called visual recognition and visual learning and recognition, which is offered by the Department of Robotics. And so that is kind of an advanced computer vision kind of a course. Okay.
Okay.
So in that course, I can give you one simple glimpse. So in one course, you have to create two or three type of GANs in one of the assignments. It's one in one of the assignments. And the duration was actually 3 weeks. You have to create, I think, Wasserstein GAN, normal GAN, and probably Wasserstein GAN GP. And also you have to create two different types of variational autoencoders. And in the
Okay.
extra credit, you have to create what is it?
Normalizing
Stable diffusion.
stable diffusion.
But
Okay.
that's extra credit. And now you may think that okay, there are lots and lots of repositories from GitHub. I can directly go and download and
Mm.
copy. No, the way the assignments are designed is not like that. So the
Okay.
thing is, they actually created the code, the stub, and
Okay.
and in the important pieces, the code was actually missing.
Blank.
So you
Okay.
have
You
to
have to fill it up.
understand the code, and then you should know that what are the important things that you need to write in that particular blank space. So yeah, so courses in Carnegie Mellon, they are very good. They are very comprehensive. I like convex optimization. So when I was a student at Pitt, I used to go to Ryan Tipshirani's classes. I used to
Okay.
sit in those in his classes and watch his lectures. That was also really, really good. But convex optimization is not a part of my research. But
Right.
you are there in CMU, so there are no security guards and nothing. So you can freely go to and sit in any of the professors' classes, and they
Amazing
will
place.
also
Yeah.
not bother. So yeah, so that is what I did actually in Carnegie Mellon. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you compare these four universities?
Well, so as like I did most of my coursework and I brushed up most of my fundamentals from University of Florida. So UF is very close to my heart. So there is a place called Library West in UF. That particular place is actually very, very close to my heart. I mean, I used to be at the Library West, I mean, for almost like every day. from like
Okay.
11 a.m. to 11 p.m. sometimes at midnight. So that's like an awesome place. And Gainesville is also a fantastic city. It's a very small city in Florida. A lot of Indian students will be there. So UF is very close to my heart. Now, if you think about like machine learning or AI and all those subfields, I think Carnegie Mellon is really at the top. I mean, the courses, the professors, the the kind of infrastructure that they provide to the students is really good, but you have to work really hard. I mean, the PhD program is very grueling in CMU, especially the CMU machine learning PhD programs. Okay, I mean, people who did their undergrads from MIT, from IIT Bombay, they also struggle a lot. So it's very hard for PIT and BU. Well, as like I used to work under Kehan, and now I'm also working under Kehan, so there is no much difference. I mean, as a PhD student, it's all the advisor. Your advisor is
Advisor,
actually the
yeah.
university. So far, my experience of like working with Kehan is really good. So you can say also like my experience with BU and PIT is also really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is the research lab environment there in USA? I mean, you're working now in Boston and you previously worked in Pittsburgh. So how is the environment like?
Again, the environment actually varies from lab to lab. I can
Okay.
tell you about my lab. I mean, the people under whom I work. So in the US, it's very collaborative. Okay,
Okay.
it is very collaborative. So as like we are doing a lot of medical images, so we
Hmm.
had to collaborate also with a radiologist.
Right.
Previously, the radiologist, he was working for UPMC, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Now we are working also another radiologist from Boston Medical Center. So the environment is very collaborative. In my ICML paper, there was a collaborator who was working for Facebook, for Meta. She was
Hmm.
also a part of our project. She was also advising me on my writing, on my documentation. So the ambience and the environment is very collaborative. That's number one. Number two is that it's very hard also. Now, if
Hmm.
you work in a particular lab where people are constantly publishing in, say, CDPR or NeurIPS or ICML, and you are seeing that your paper is actually get rejected, then you will be under some sort of like an imposter syndrome. Okay,
Right.
so that is also the thing. I mean, the bar is really high,
It is.
and it's like you have to do it. I mean,
Yes.
otherwise you'll be replaced. So
Right.
the second thing is that the environment is really hard and challenging. And the third thing is that what I really like the most is that in most of the research projects in the US, you are given a problem which is fairly difficult, sometimes
Hmm.
almost impossible to solve. But the people around you, including your advisor and your lab mates, they will gonna tell you that no, you can solve it. And they will also
Hmm.
gonna give you the required resources, GPUs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So this collaborative hard environment that they create, it will gonna help you to push yourself to the next level to solve
Right.
that particular
Right.
problem. So that is the best thing which I like about the US. Yeah, and
Okay.
their education system. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we are almost end to this podcast. So my final question is: any tips you want to give to the students who are aiming for MS or PhD in the US university?
So for master student who want to directly go to the job industry, I mean industry, you should focus on solving lead code problems straight away. Because in
Okay.
the US there is no concept of campus placements and stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah, you are actually on your own. So it's
Hmm.
very important to get an internship, summer internship first, which will gonna help you to convert that internship, or it will gonna also give you some sort of like an idea that what's actually coming. So you should try to solve the lead code problems as soon as possible. That's it.
Right.
For PhD students, I mean, it will gonna vary from lab to lab and professor to professor. During the initial years, don't try to argue with your professors. I mean, try to listen to his advices because they are very senior. They are working in this field for years, so they know what is really good. um, and two words: work hard. I mean, work really, really, really hard. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's a
Okay.
beautiful quote from Steve Jobs. It's called "Stay
Stay,
hungry, stay foolish."
stay hungry, stay foolish,
So that should be like the main quote for you, that you should stay hungry, stay foolish, and work hard.
and hope the dots will connect
Hope
somehow.
the dots will connect. Yes, absolutely. Hope the dots will connect. I mean, I mean, your advisor will make you work in that direction to connect those dots. So, I mean, that's his job. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for participating in this podcast. And I think this whole discussion, I mean, it will really help all the students who are, aiming for doing research, maybe in US or anywhere, because
Yeah.
everywhere you have to do hard work. Rejection will happen, but again, you have to, take the paper from there, rewrite it, everything, do all the experiments, submit it again. Maybe ICLR will get rejected, but ICML will get accepted. So this is how the things is.
Yeah.
I can share my one. My paper got rejected in NIPS, but that paper got accepted in AAA. So this is how the things is, and
Yeah.
I think this discussion hopefully it will help to all
What
the
is
people. So
important
thank you.
from those rejections is that I just want to add 2 cents. Okay. So, what is important from those rejections is that if at least there are like some two or three good points from the reviews, which is going to make your paper stronger. I believe that is very
Right,
important. Not like
right.
now, if your reviewer is going to say that, you need to compare with more baselines. Now, what kind of review is this?
That's yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, thank you so much, and hopefully, I mean, I can't meet you this time, though you're in Kolkata, but hopefully we'll meet again sometime,
yeah,
maybe in
sure,
Boston or some other conferences. So
sure.
thank you so
No
much.
problem. It's really, really amazing talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah.